doesn't matter if you've filmed dozens of movies or you've been in show business for half a century. Directing is one of the hardest jobs in the world. And yet there are those directors who have gone beyond the call of duty to get their work greenlit, filmed or released. So I am Gareth, this is What Culture, and here are 10 directors who went to insane lengths to get their movies made. Number 10, Orson Welles pretended he wasn't filming scenes that the producers hated. Citizen Kane. For most of his career, Orson Welles' work was hampered by producers. But because of his non-interference contract over Citizen Kane, the studio could not alter a single frame of the finished film. But man oh man did they try. Because Welles' magnum opus is based on William Randolph Hearst, the media mogul did everything in his power to destroy the production. Terrified at suffering Hearst's wrath, the film executives did all they could to ensure Welles didn't depict him in a negative light. When they showed up unannounced on set and saw scenes they did not like, Welles just pretended the actors were merely rehearsing the scamp. The studio suspected this and so sent spies to set. But then Welles got wind of this and had his crew play softball until the spies left. Also, during filming, Welles was informed that Hearst had arranged a naked woman to jump at him when he entered his hotel room, while one of Hearst's men took a picture. Knowing this photograph would besmirch his reputation, Welles smartly slept elsewhere on the night he learned of this. And though everything seemed to be against the great Welles, he still made Citizen Kane the way he absolutely wanted, ultimately allowing it to become one of the most influential films in cinema. Number 9, Zack Snider deliberately disobeyed producers. Justice League. When Batman v Superman underperformed, the bigwigs at Warner Bros. Felt the need to be a little more hands-on for the follow-up, Justice League. They wanted to change almost every aspect of the movie, including the tone, the length, and the design of the characters. In the early stages, director Zack Snider made it clear that he wanted Superman to don a black costume, as a homage to the outfit he wore in the famous Death of Superman storyline. You know the one. The executives shot this idea down though, simply because it wasn't the red and blue costume that movie fans were familiar with. We don't like change apparently. Refusing to compromise his vision, Snyder shot Henry Cavill's scenes with his traditional costume, but with the intention of changing the Man of Steel's suit to black with CGI. And when the studio complained the main villain Steppenwolf looked a bit too scary, Snyder gave the character a more generic appearance. Once again though, he intended to swap this look out for his original design in the 11th hour, without the producer's consent. We had to wait until the Snyder Cut was released to see these changes of course, but there's no question that Snyder's alterations were the right move in the end. Cheers for checking out this video today folks, now hit that subscribe button down below for more of this What Culture stuff in your day. Number 8, cobbled a trailer together to shut up the critics, Batman. For millions of people, Michael Keaton will always be their Batman. And with countless DC fans being so excited to see Keaton put the cowl back on in the recent Flash movie, it's hard to believe people were once up in arms when it was announced he was portraying the titular character in Tim Burton's Batman. Because Keaton was known as a comedian at the time, it was impossible to envision him playing the Dark Knight. They just couldn't see it. So when he was cast, some devoted fans believed this was a sign the film would have a more comedic spin, akin to the 1966 TV series. To put everyone at ease then, Warner Bros. Rushed out a trailer to show the film would be faithful to the source material. Now, rushing out a teaser for a blockbuster is nothing new of course. However, Burton hadn't really shot enough to release a cohesive trailer. So as a result, the director scrambled to film as many complete shots as he could, edit them and then shove them together for the trailer. Yes, the teaser was very disjointed in the end, but it didn't really matter, since viewers loved what they saw. And this prototype trailer was so popular, it even became a popular bootleg at comic book conventions before the film's release. Not bad at all. Number 7, Tim Burton trained squirrels to attack an actress, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Even though Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was very faithful to Roald Dahl's classic children's story, there was one major deviation. In the book, there was a scene where Wonka's group of nut-tapping squirrels tossed the spoilt brat Veruca Salt down the trash chute. Because this scene would be a nightmare to film though, it was cut in the end. But when it was announced the squirrel scene would be in Tim Burton's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, viewers weren't that surprised really. After all, the film crew can make the squirrels with CGI now thanks to the wonders of modern special effects, right? Contrary to popular belief though, the squirrels in the remake were actually real. Obviously, the little critters were brought to life with animatronics and CGI for certain shots, but this was purely for the actors' safety. When you see the squirrels inspecting nuts, those guys right there are the real deal. And to accomplish this scene, Burton had these rodents trained daily for 10 weeks to sit on a stool, tap walnuts, open them, and deposit their contents on a conveyor belt. But because viewers often assume the squirrels are CGI in every single shot here, this scene largely doesn't really get the credit it deserves. Now I've got a quick question for you. We've spoken about a few Tim Burton movies there, so I want to know, what is your favourite ever Tim Burton movie of all time? You let me know in the comments section down below. Number 6, Sam Raimi filmed an action scene to prove Tobey Maguire could play a superhero, Spider-Man. After years of false starts, the film adaptation of Spider-Man finally got the green light. Being Marvel's most prized superhero, it was no surprise that every Hollywood star was considered to portray the Warcrawler, including Leonardo DiCaprio, Charlie Sheen, Josh Hartnett, Heath Ledger, and Tom Cruise himself. With all these A-list names thrown around then, no one suspected the role would go to Tobey Maguire. Now don't get me wrong, Maguire is obviously a great actor. At the time, he had already proven to be a leading star with performances in Pleasantville and The Cider House Rules. And because of his timid manner and friendly face, it was pretty easy to picture him as Peter Parker. But it still seemed like nobody could really see him playing the superhero part of this whole thing, save for Spider-Man's director, Sam Raimi. Despite the fact Tobey bulked up massively for the role, I mean, look at that guy, the producers were still not really convinced. To prove he really was worthy to portray the wisecracking web slinger then, Raimi filmed the scene of Tobey's Spider-Man kicking the absolute crap out of a bunch of thugs. And after the producers saw this footage, they all agreed he was absolutely perfect for the part. Number 5, Werner Herzog hauled a ship over a hill, Fitzcarraldo. If you thought the aforementioned Justice League had a troubled production, that is small potatoes compared to what Werner Herzog endured while making Fitzcarraldo. During filming, Herzog's wife was attacked, a crew member got stabbed in the throat with an arrow, the cinematographer had his hand cut in half, extras died, folks were injured in plane crashes, and a logger was bitten by a snake, forcing him to chop his foot off with a chainsaw. Quite the shoot. However, the craziest thing about Fitzcarraldo is that it centers around a character dragging a 365-ton steamship over a hill, a feat Herzog actually performed himself. Even though the sequences revolving around the ship could have been achieved with camera tricks or, miniatures, Herzog just did it for real because why not? Also, the ship in the film wasn't hollowed out to reduce its weight. It was literally 365 tons. Now, since Fitzcarraldo is based on a true story, you might assume Herzog made the ship this heavy for the sake of historic accuracy, right? But in reality, the historic steamship was only 30 tons, and was carried over in pieces rather than hauled together. So why did Herzog make this feat 1,000 times more difficult than it had to be? Because he's crazy, that's why. Number 4, Everything Psycho. During the 1950s, Alfred Hitchcock was renowned as the world's best director, thanks to movies like Rear Window and Vertigo. But when the London-born filmmaker announced he wanted to adapt Robert Bloch's novel Psycho for the big screen, no studio was interested, believing the story was just mediocre schlock. However, Hitchcock believed the story's twist was so mind-blowing, he was adamant Psycho would be a hit. Unable to receive the desired funding, Hitchcock remortgaged his house and had the film shot in black and white to keep the costs down. And because the twist was the most shocking moment in the story, Hitchcock couldn't risk anyone learning about it preemptively, and so he bought every single copy of Bloch's novel he could find. To ensure the cast didn't spoil the ending either, because those actors have big mouths, Hitchcock didn't show anyone the final 10 pages of the script until the day of filming. He also urged all cast and crew to make a solemn vow not to disclose any details about the production. And although these tactics could have been considered a bit gimmicky, they very much paid off since the twist was regarded as one of the most defining moments in the history of cinema. Number 3, 60 pages were written in 10 days, World War Z. Any movie can fall victim to drastic reshoots, including blockbusters like Marvel, Star Wars, James Bond, or in this case, World War Z. Based on the Max Brooks novel of the very same name, the zombie saga was expected to be a monster hit, especially with Brad Pitt in the lead role. Who doesn't want to see that guy on the big screen? But after filming the climax, the director, Mark Forster, worried that World War Z was coming across as a generic action flick rather than an epic horror. Even though the third act was monumental in scale, it seemed to jar with the rest of the story, which was a bit more personal. So during post-production, Forster and Pitt decided to reshoot the last third of the movie, making it more small scale. Because they were already very late in production, Forster was forced to bring in his friend Drew Goddard and quickly write 60 pages with him in 10 days to stay on schedule. It was an incredibly ballsy move, but it worked out, since World War Z earned over $500 million, even making it the most successful movie of Pitt's career at the time. Number 2, Richard Donner had to wear a fake mustache, Superman. After Gene Hackman was cast as Lex Luthor in Superman, the director Richard Donner met up with the Oscar-winning actor to discuss the supervillain. And because Luthor is known for being a part of the sacred bald community, Donner insisted that Hackman wear a skull cap for the role. However, Hackman adamantly refused. Bald just is not for everyone, folks. And when Donner asked Hackman to shave his facial hair, he said, "Nope, mustache stays." Worried that the character would bear no resemblance to his comic book counterpart, Donner soon realized he had to do something a bit drastic. So when Donner met him again, he told Hackman that he would shave his own mustache if the actor did the same. Hackman reluctantly agreed and shaved off his facial hair then and there. But when he asked Donner to do the very same thing, the director just peeled off his mustache, revealing that he was just wearing a fake. Oh, the audacity. Hackman was furious at the filmmaker's deception at first, but ultimately found the funny side of it. How could you not, really? But who knows, if the two had refused to see eye to eye, the film may not have ultimately ever happened. So in a way, that means the superhero movie boom that we experienced for decades may actually be all thanks to Superman's director wearing a fake mustache. What a world, eh? Number 1, Robert Rodriguez volunteered for science experiments for money. El Mariachi. When Robert Rodriguez prepped for his first feature, El Mariachi, he knew that he didn't have the money to pay a big fancy crew. To hire as few people as possible, Rodriguez basically became a one-man crew, serving as the film's director, producer, writer, cinematographer, and editor. A man with many hats. And because of Rodriguez's frugality, he brought the budget down to just $7,000. However, he was only able to raise $4,000. So to get the rest of the cash, Rodriguez volunteered as a lab rat at a facility in Austin, Texas. For 1 month, he had to take a cholesterol-reducing drug while sealed in an isolated room. But to stay proactive, Rodriguez spent most of his days just writing the script for El Mariachi. After his trial concluded, the pharmacy gave him the $3,000 he needed, allowing him to begin production on his first film. And in hindsight, it was all definitely worth it, since El Mariachi was a success and helped launch Rodriguez's career. Also, to this day, the director still bears 2 scars on his arm from his trial, as a permanent reminder of exactly what he suffered and the insane lengths he was willing to go to break into the Hollywood business. Respect to you, Rodriguez, respect to you.